The Leafs have just changed forever, as in what has been one of the most hectic days in recent memory for the Toronto Maple Leafs as training camp has gotten underway. We have tons of news to discuss about Rogers, about the Toronto Maple Leafs, about the landscape of the Leafs going forward, and some very interesting things to discuss about the Leafs lines as the season approaches in just under a month. So a ton to break down for you all on this stream. Welcome in, everybody. If you're watching this after the fact, welcome in. Thank you guys for your continued support. But Darius, what a wild day. This has been a day one of training camp, and training camp has really gotten underway here, and there's a lot to discuss today, and it worked out well because Wednesday is our streaming day. How are we doing? And welcome in Shane, Eric, everybody who's tuning in. It's been a hectic day, but a ton of news to discuss today. And again, we're going to be breaking down it all, and especially how one kind of piece of information that dropped earlier today saying that Leafs have kind of changed forever here.
Yeah, there is a lot. There's a lot going on. I mean, there's a lot of pieces of news that we have not gotten to in videos yet today that we're going to get to here in the stream, and lots of topics of conversation throughout today and heading into obviously training camp technically started today. It was more like media day and them doing their headshots and stuff like that. But as we move along the week here and obviously to Sunday, the first preseason game, there's going to be a lot to talk about. And the entire landscape of not just the Leafs, but MLSE completely changed today. Honestly, I feel like that was a real interesting news dump that happened right before, the juicy stuff started coming out with the Leafs media day. But wow, like things have definitely changed. We're going to dive into it too. We have some more insight as well as the day went on, but it's super interesting, like completely away from it completely changes actually the on ice product too moving forward, because now I feel like the team can actually make some changes, but we'll dive into it. And obviously a long day in terms of like what Craig Berube said about Nylander, and Mitch Marner had some comments. We're going to break it down in the stream.
Yeah, we'll be going over even some of the stuff we covered in our multiple videos from earlier. What's up, Eric, Derek, Jose? Nice to see you back. Jamie, hello from the Yukon. Great videos, doing some great work. Thank you guys. Yeah, it's been busy, and it's gonna get busier because training camp is underway. The Leaf season now is approaching. We have tons of stuff in the works for you. Shane Collins, we do have him figured out. They're not going to be live today just because of the amount of news we have to get through in this stream. But next week, it should settle down a little bit, so we'll have the call. But yeah, we do have the structure for it.
We'll have some games to talk about too, yeah, which would be actually nice, and some lineup stuff we can talk about.
So stay tuned for all of that. But yeah, welcome everybody. Let's dive. Let's just start by diving into it. We can take questions and all that, the usual format here. But we can go over some day one camp notes, and we'll get into a bunch of things. So obviously we know that William Nylander is going to start camp at center with Domi on the wing, which we're going to discuss later in the stream because that's a huge talking point. We dropped a video 3 hours ago now breaking down all the injuries. So if you're new for the injury, or if you haven't heard about the injury updates, Connor Dewar, Fraser Minton, Ben Danford all injured. You can see it there. Marner had some interesting things to say, and obviously Austin Matthews spoke out. There's tons of stuff in that regard. But Darius, I'm going to let you take over here for a second and break down the big news of the day, which was about Bell, MLSE, and how everything shifted and how the landscape has changed a little bit here. And yeah, there's a new deal on the go with all of this now.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement, and we can get into some specifics. But basically what happened today is Bell is essentially selling all of their shares of MLSE. So not just the Leafs, the Raptors, the Argos, TFC, all of that, back to Rogers. So Rogers is going to become a majority owner of all of these teams. And that's pretty big news because Larry Tannenbaum earlier this year, who's like kind of a third owner in the whole ordeal, but he has, the least amount of shares or percentage. He also sold 5% of his shares earlier this year. So he only technically owns 20%, 25%. It's weird. You're going to have to look it up to understand the details, and it's very convoluted. But it's very interesting because now Rogers becomes the majority owner. And I feel like things are absolutely about to change because it's interesting. Bell is kind of pivoting away from everything and becoming a tech company, whatever that means. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but that's kind of what they want their identity to be. And they're moving away from sports, maybe not sports broadcasting as a whole, but away from like sports ownership, I think. And Rogers sees sports as their future. So they're kind of diving headfirst into sports, and their owner kind of maybe will have his own company. Adam Wilde of the SDPN had a great breakdown of it today as well. So he had some more insight on that. So go check that out too, if you want to, a real deep dive into it. But basically, there could be a future here where, the Argos aren't a part of MLSE anymore. There's more focus on making the Leafs a winner, the Raptors a winner again. There is a world where it goes the complete opposite way where they don't really care about the team success and they just care about, how much money, like the financials and how much money they're bringing in. So that's it. There's a lot of moving parts here. We don't know what's going to happen. That's the thing. I can't say if this is a good thing or a bad thing for certain, because I saw a lot of this is a bad thing today, but we're just gonna have to wait and see, what that looks like. But one thing's for sure, there is going to be movement now. The fact that Brendan Shanahan wasn't fired after, not moving off of Mitch Marner and making hard decisions was because, there's three parts owners here, right? And Bell and Rogers, if they can't come to a decision, they have the same amount of share in the team, so they haven't come to a decision. So now that there's a majority owner, decisions can be made probably a little bit easier, and we might actually see some movement. So definitely, and I do agree with winning equals money as well.
Yeah, and
it definitely does. So a lot of moving parts here for sure.
Yeah, we won't know the full impact until, stuff actually happens, but it's definitely something that we can discuss on a lot of our live streams as it goes forward and as the impact becomes more clear. Because right now there's still a lot of question marks about what it actually means for the on ice product. Because that's what we care about the most, obviously, is the teams doing well, having multiple teams and all those things. So let us know if you have any questions or thoughts on that. And yeah, you mentioned it, Darius, but I want to touch on some of the other things here. We'll obviously get back to that. But regarding what happened today at camp, and I'm curious to see what everybody's feeling is, and let us know in the chat how you're feeling. You can just say good or bad after the first day of camp. Like, there's some really good things, there's some interesting things, and there's obviously some bad things. So we'll start with the good things, and it's that a lot of the players have come into camp with more muscle, with more weight on them. They're playing and forming themselves to play more under a more Craig Berube style, which is bigger, stronger, whether that's Matthew Knies gaining 10 pounds, Timothy Liljegren gaining 16 odd pounds. All these guys are gaining mass, which is going to play well for Craig Berube, hopefully. Yeah, it's true, Mike, going forward. And how are we feeling about the all of this? Now, obviously, we have injuries, the Fraser Minton stuff. People are a little bit concerned, but injuries happen with everybody. But I'm feeling very good about everything today, and we're going to dive and zero in on the Nylander stuff in a second, Darius, because I know you have a lot to say about that, and Domi on the wing, and I'm curious to see what the chat says. But surrounding everybody coming into camp more, heavier weight, but ultimately leading to stronger at this point, especially with the way that they're talking about it all. Gotta be pretty encouraged for day one of what we're considering training camp, even though it's really media day. The first day we're seeing the players in the beginning, the official beginning of the new season.
Yeah, and I think this morning I referred to Matthew Knies as a unit, and I'm going to change that because, I've had some time to think on it. This guy is a tank coming into this training camp, all right? Like, he is ready to go, and my mindset has shifted on certain things like Liljegren, because when you have a new culture or a culture shock happening within the organization, you hire a new coach, and obviously the philosophy is going to change. All these things, the type of style that you play is going to change. Everyone can go one way or another, and players can buy in or they don't have to buy in, whatever, and they can go the opposite way, and maybe they get traded, all that stuff. To me, Liljegren putting on all that weight looks to me like, okay, I can see the problem. I'm addressing it personally in the off season. I'm going to come into camp and try my best and really, listen to what the coach wants to do and play that style. So I feel great about that. And the rest of the players too, like even Alex Nylander putting on, I think it was like 13 pounds or something. It's kind of absurd. Like, he is, all of them, when I say he, like everyone on that list, clearly put in work this offseason. There's been lots of talk around the league, including Nathan McKinnon speaking out on Mitch Marner about him having a great offseason and all the work that he's been putting in. Obviously, Austin Matthews, we saw videos of him, and Max Domi had like all these crazy TikToks where he's doing the most crazy workouts during the summer. So I feel really good about that, honestly. Like, this was a good start to training camp, and obviously everybody's going to make fun and be like, it's just guys, weight going up, and what does that mean? I feel like it's a little bit of a commitment to the style of hockey that they're going to change to playing this year, and I feel like that wins Stanley Cups, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, and ultimately Craig Berube knows how to win, and that's what the Leafs are going to do. Nice put on quite a bit, hopefully all muscle, feeling great. Yeah, ultimately we're feeling pretty solid about that, and again, we covered that in the first video of the day. But Darius, let's focus in now a little bit on Nylander versus Max Domi. Not versus, playing alongside Max Domi. Playing with. I want to see everybody in the chat. Let us know what your thoughts are. Are we happy, or do you agree with the decision, yes or no, to put Max Domi on the same line as William Nylander, which will supposedly be the second line, rather than having Domi on the first line with Austin Matthews? Darius, I know you spoke about it in today's video, the one this morning. you don't really like it a lot. I'm curious to see what the chat feels about it. Would we have preferred to split up Max Domi and William Nylander, put Domi alongside Matthews? How are we feeling about this specific aspect of it? Because that's been the discourse over the past few hours, has been Nylander and Max Domi, and not Max Pacioretty, Max Domi on the second line together to start training camp here. It's very intriguing to me, and I'm not sure I hate it, but I'm not sure I love it either.
Yeah, first thoughts, I don't like it, but I'm also not going to hit the panic button because there's potential through 2 or 3 preseason games that they see it doesn't work and they try something else, right? But off the first look, I don't really like it, and I think that they should try Domi again with Matthews because we know that works, and it was looking pretty good at the end of last season. So I would continue to do that, and I like the way that Matthews played with Bertuzzi and Domi. I like the way he played, right? He played bigger. I feel like he used his body more. So I don't know. It could just be a mental thing, but hockey is 50% mental anyway. So I would put those two together, but at least to start, I think what Berube said about Nylander makes a lot of sense. And a lot of people are saying that Mitch Marner's, if any winger is going to go center, it should be Mitch Marner. I disagree. I think it should be William Nylander at this point, at least. And we know Berube wants to spread the lineup. So I'm assuming that Tavares is going to end up on the third line center position. And I agree with what Berube said in that Nylander can transport the puck. Like, he's a really good passer and in transition. So for him to play center makes sense, especially on that second line, right? And we talked a lot about identity heading into obviously the playoffs in this season, and Berube likes that. I mean, I think this is perfect. Now, who's going to be his wingers? I don't know if it should be Domi, but if it works, it works. I'm not going to be mad about it. I just, at first glance, like, I don't know if that's the best decision to make, but we'll see. And I think that they should give it a solid, like, we need a big sample size here, like 4 or 5 preseason games, so we can say Nylander doesn't work, or okay, yes, it's working. Like, you can't do 2 games or maybe a couple periods and give up like last year, because I keep seeing all this online about, oh, we've done this the last 3 years and we did this once with Babcock. Yeah, for like 3 periods, right? Like, you don't have enough to really base anything off of. Try it this year for real. See if it works. If it doesn't, there's no harm in switching him back to the wing for the regular season. That's why we have the preseason. We have like 8 games or something ridiculous like that. So try it. And I think Matthew Nyes too, the more I think about it, I was kind of not wanting to put him on the first line, but I think with Craig Berube, he might play, not that he'll play a different style, but maybe the style of game that the entire team plays, he might be okay on that first line. I don't know if Sheldon Keefe utilized him properly. So we'll see how that works.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I mean, everything we know about how Sheldon Keefe coached the team and everything that did work and didn't work, obviously you want to take the things that work, but the things that didn't work with Sheldon Keefe, that doesn't necessarily mean they're not going to work under Craig Berube, and I think it's going to be okay with Domi. I'm open-minded. Can't hurt to give it a try. Worth a try for the second line. I think, I did like Domi and Matthews, and that was the thing. Jose, go Leafs go, with a $10 donation. Thank you so much, Jose. Always supporting. We're going to go back here so we can get you the animation. Go Leafs go. Yeah, I mean, the season is approaching. It's approaching very fast. And thank you so much, Jose. You've been one of the biggest supporters. And thank you so much for the $10 donation there.
Thank you, Jose. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and like I said, thanks again, Jose. There's so much happening. I like the Nyes, Matthews, Domi. Like, that would have been my ideal top 6 or top 3, I guess, the first line. But at the same time, it is training camp. Like Eric said, training camp is the time to try things when the regular season starts. Yep. Stick with lines, and there is a world where they on opening night. I mean, Nylander is a center, an opening night center, which is not something that we expected. Thank you, Jose. Jose is a legend.
Thank you, Jose.
But yeah, I like it. I don't hate it. I'm happy with Brad Treliving, or I guess, yeah, Brad Treliving, Craig Berube, them trying William Nylander at center just to see what it kind of gives flexibility wise with everybody else. Because now you're thinking about a whole new first line, not whole new, potentially Nyes, Matthews, Marner. Do we want to try that? Do we want to go down? Now you're shifting Tavares down to the third line center, which I think at this point of his career is a very good spot for him.
Or what if you do a second line of like Nylander, Marner, Domi to start or something? I don't know. We don't know what he's thinking, right? So that's very interesting. I think at this point in time, to have Nylander on the third line makes no sense to me. So I feel like it's Tavares that's dropping down. And is Tavares slowing down? Yes, but I wouldn't have him on the wing. I think he can still be very useful at center. He's a great face-off guy. He's a better face-off guy than Matthews, and Matthews is a good face-off guy. So I would have him at the center position still, and he can still play it defensively. He's still pretty good in all those areas. So it's really just a foot speed thing that's really an issue at this point in time with John Tavares and him slowing down a little bit. So it's interesting. We don't know what's going to happen. Let me know in the chat too. I'm curious to see this because I'm feeling it this year, like more than last year. Last year I was kind of feeling almost burnt out even after the summer, which is impossible because of no changes happening. But this year, coming into the season, I'm actually excited to watch the regular season because we have a new captain, right? Like obviously the guy was still on the team, Austin Matthews last year, but we have a new captain, we have a new coach. He's come out and said today, we're playing an entirely new style. Like he literally said to all the media members today, Craig Berube, that is, like, you're gonna have to get used to the team again because they're gonna be so different, right? Like I love that. So I'm actually excited to watch the regular season. So let me know in the chat if you feel the same, because I'm definitely feeling that this year, where I'm actually like, oh, the game, regular season's here. I'm kind of
Worth
feeling good
watching.
about it. I'm excited to watch some games. Yeah, like it's gonna be fun.
Oh,
So
yeah, very exciting. I mean, we both talked about this. Excited to watch. Well, I mean, at any point, I'm excited to watch the Leafs again, especially after what honestly hasn't felt like too long of an offseason because of so much stuff that has happened in the anticipation. Also, if you're new here, let's try to get to 30 likes. We all love seeing numbers go up. We're at 15, so just click the like button. It would be very much appreciated. What do you think of Pacioretty, Tavares, Domi? Well, I mean, Domi and Nylander are playing together at least for training camp, so that probably wouldn't be necessarily a training camp line, but it's an interesting thought. It's a very interesting thought. Tavares, Pacioretty, and Domi. I think figuring out where Pacioretty is going to fit into this team is going to be the one of the things I'm looking out for throughout training camp. I'd assume like the safe bet is the third line with John Tavares. Add the have two veterans there, and then whoever plays the other wing is going to be up in the air. But I don't think it'll be Domi. But that being said, I don't know. I think they're going to give Nylander and Domi a try, but Pacioretty is going to be interesting for me.
well, I think so. He said Max is on the wing. He never said which wing, and I feel
Yeah.
like I mentioned in a video today, I feel like a left shot is going to have to play on the right side. Like it's just going to have to happen. I'm not a
Nick
fan of
Robertson
it.
as
And
well.
yeah, like Nick Robertson, where does he fit in here? So I feel like Pacioretty. I wonder if you do like, barring a trade, of course, you do like Pacioretty, Yarncroke, and Tavares in the middle on your third line. That's not bad. There could be some identity there. Maybe you can find something with that. And the fourth line, like Dewar, I don't know, a trade's coming still for sure, right? Like we know that. So maybe even Pacioretty on the fourth line. I feel like Pacioretty on the fourth line is a bit of a waste, and you're getting away from the identity because that doesn't lend well to what the fourth line is supposed to do. I do agree, Shane, with him being on the power play. Pacioretty's going to be on, and I also think that the Leafs are going to spread out the power play. You're not going to see any more of this like five forwards, and it's the best guys on your team all on at once, and then they're all tired because they played a minute 30. And then you have the fourth line out there as soon as the other team goes even strength and they score on you. Like I think they're going to get away from that. So a lot's going to change this year. It's going to be exciting. I don't know what's going to happen with that third and fourth line, right? There's so many pieces in and out. What happens with Nick Robertson, right? I keep thinking Robertson has to play higher in the lineup, right? And when you look at maybe that second line,
Yeah,
maybe
maybe
do
Domi.
Nick Robertson, Domi, Nylander or something
Pretty
like
good
that's
line.
pretty insane, right? Like, and that's a line that has an identity to me, right? That right there, that is a line that has some identity, and you can kind of fill in the rest, right? Nyes and Matthews together, I like that. If you put Marner there, we've seen it before, but maybe with a different play style, maybe it works, right? So there's going to be a lot of fiddling around in preseason.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, that's one of the more exciting things right now is figuring out what the third and fourth. I mean, where Nick Robertson is going to stand, because for the longest time we thought that Nick Robertson was going to be traded and that he wasn't going to be a Toronto Maple Leaf. But now that they kept Robertson and they kept Mitch Marner, they're going to have to find spots for those guys. Obviously, Mitch Marner is probably going to factor into the first line right now, if at least in training camp. But then the question is, if you put I think third line is where Pacioretty can be. I agree with Shane. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if Pacioretty on the first or second, definitely not the first line. But I mean, there's a word I've seen people talk about it. I don't know if that's the best use of his strength either. He is 39 now, approaching 39 years old, so he's getting up there.
30, he's between like 35 and 40. He's 36 or something,
Or maybe
37.
36. Maybe I mix him up.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
regardless, he is
he's getting up there.
he's getting up there, and he only has so much left in the tank. And I think the third line, you get an identity on the third line with the players you mentioned. I think the fourth line, you stick with the grit that they have. I liked it last year. I think you rock with that, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be. I don't think Reeves is going anywhere because I've seen a lot of that.
35, yeah,
Reeves.
not 39, 35.
Yeah, he's or turning 36 or something like that this year. He's getting up there though. But yeah, I don't think I don't see Reeves going anywhere. David Camp could still get traded. Like there's going to be a trade, right? So we're moving all these pieces around in a potential lineup, and somebody could be on the way out still. But it's going to be very interesting. I see Pacioretty on the third line. I see the Pacioretty on the third line with John Tavares. I don't know who's on that right wing. Right now it's Yarncroke, which is okay.
Ah,
Like that line could have, some identity as well, but Berube is going to have to, kind of configure that and figure that out as we get closer to the regular season. And we're going to see like a lot of different things in training camp
I
too.
feel like
So
Tavares and Pacioretty is a pretty good match at this point. I
I
feel like
just, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, right. Like not, I don't want to say similar play styles, but kind of, right.
Yeah.
And also, like, I think Tavares is more physical than people give him credit for. I feel like Pacioretty is as well. And like, will that be effective? I don't know because of his injuries. We don't know what that looks like in Pacioretty right now. But I think he's going to be pretty good. Like if he stays healthy, he might not even play the whole year. I still think Easton Cowan.
That's the thing. Yeah, Easton Cowan kind of it slips our mind sometimes because he's probably only going to play 9 games, but at the same time, with the way that he's being talked about, then like maybe there's a world where he plays more than 9 games. Alongside Easton Cowan and Fraser Minton, GM Brad Shilevy mentioned Nikita Grabenkin as prospects pushing for the role. I think Easton's pushing, Fraser's pushing, Grabenkin, we'll see where he's at. He's pushing, which I mean, okay, everybody's pushing, but obviously Easton Cowan's the one who could actually push for a spot on this team beyond the 9 games. And you have Ryan Reeves as well. That's someone else who could put, like, there's so many openings. There's a lot. There's a lot of openings on this
there's a
team.
lot. I even forgot about Holmberg, and I love Holmberg
Pontus, yeah.
because Darren just brought that up, and he's another. I feel like he can play center too. You know what? I feel like David Kampf is the odd man out here. I really do. Like I feel like he's going to be traded here, and Holmberg will take that center spot on the fourth line. And Holmberg is very versatile too. He can play around the lineup, but I feel like Berube is really going to try and hammer down like these are our lines every night, unless something goes wrong and there's an injury. So, which is a good thing.
Darren Willie is gonna be going at center at least to start training camp. You can see I've got my screenshots mixed up, but William Nylander will start camp at center with Max Domi on the wing. So I know someone, and I agree, and me and Darius both agree. Domi played so well with Matthews that you hate to split that up, but at the same time, if you give Domi a chance to play with Nylander, maybe Nylander at center and they develop a thing, and then now you're even deeper. Even though I would prefer to see Domi on that first line. I mean, this is the time to try things. That being said, I do also think there's something to the fact that what they're trying in camp, if it works, I do think Craig Berube won't be afraid to actually use that in the regular season. Like I do think there's a world where opening night against the Montreal Canadiens on the Wednesday that they try and they have William Nylander at center because it opens up so much more for everybody and moves everyone down center-wise, aka it puts John Tavares in the third line, which makes your team significantly at least seem deeper, depending on how he actually does. But I think John Tavares can match up with anybody's third line, and obviously it doesn't always work out where it's third line on third line, but I like it a lot more with him on the third line than the second line at this point in his career trajectory. Same with Patches, though. This is not the same way.
Yeah, and I think Patches, like, is pretty, I don't want to say underrated at this point in his career, but I feel like he can do some damage.
I'm on the Patches train, so I'm boarded it now.
You've been I've been turning my opinion
jersey
a little bit on that. Yeah, you got to order that soon, man. That's they're starting to print them now. But yeah, I think he's going to be pretty underrated for the Leafs this year. And I think I also agree with Brad Treliving today because he said like you're missing 21 or how many ever goals it was in Tyler Bertuzzi leaving. But he's like, I feel like with who we brought in and who's going to get like kind of a promotion as well, we're going to find those goals.
AKA Robertson and
yeah,
Pacioretty should combine for the extra 21 goals that Bertuzzi left.
Right, which makes sense to me. Like I think Robertson can get them himself, actually. But when you look at the rest of the team, theoretically they should be able to fill that gap. Now, Pacioretty, I think he's under. Like, it's not that he's quick, but I don't think he's as slow as people think. Obviously, playing with Tavares, like I don't think that would be an issue, especially if he's playing with Yarncroke, let's say on that line, like speed. I don't know if that would be an issue in the type of hockey that they want to play. I really don't know, and I don't think the Leafs are as fast as people think anymore. Like I think people still remember them as the high flying like 2017, 18 Maple Leafs. I don't know if they're that fast anymore, which is fine. They have a lot of puck possession and they play a certain style, and that might change now and they're going to be more physical. But yeah, it might work that third line. We'll see though. We'll see what's going to happen with that. Nick Robertson too. Where does he fit in? Matthew Nye. It's going to be interesting. We don't know. A lot of
Bobby McMahon.
Some guys. Bobby McMahon. Forgot about him as well. A lot of guys. There's a trade coming. Steven Lorentz on a PTO.
Alex Nylander. He's not. He's still in a one way, but I
Well,
mean, he's getting
he's going
some
to be in the
buzz.
mix.
Easton Cowan, like someone has to go. Where does Robertson play? He's not going to be in the fourth, so you want him in the third line of Patches, Tavares, Robertson. I don't know if that. I feel like there's a higher chance he's on the I mean, there's a world he could be on the first or second line as well. Like if they want to get really creative with things. I'm not exactly sure how I love Nyes, Matthews, Robertson, but I could get behind. Like,
Well,
you're gonna
what if
have
you
left
do?
shots on the right wing. So I mean,
What
it's
if you do
just,
Pacioretty on the right wing? You do Nyes on the left wing, Tavares in the middle on a third line. That's insane to me. Like that
I
is
agree, but
heavy.
does Robertson? They're talking about putting him in a position to succeed. Is that going to happen on a third? Like, will he be happy with a third line?
No, I think he has to play with better players. But I
So,
think he's going to be in the top six. I do. I do to start, unless he does something wrong
well,
or something goes wrong. I think he is going to start in the top six because those are going to be not necessarily your full on offense lines, but he's probably going to play with Matthews or maybe even a Nylander right on that second line. I feel like that is going to happen because the third line I feel like is going to be, I don't want to use the word checking line, but you have offense in the top. So I feel like Tavares' role is going to change. You're not going to look to him to score 40 goals anymore or whatever it is. Like we know he's not going to do that, but you're not going to look to him to do that. It's going to be interesting.
Mariner line. I like that one.
Nylander.
I don't hate Tavares Patches Yarncroak, but I mean, I feel like that's probably the most realistic outcome. If that, I mean, that would be the natural move by moving people down and keeping Yarncroak on the third line. Patches, I usually add him.
You also have McMahon you got to figure out there, right?
I guess fourth
Like,
line.
where does he? Maybe, but I feel like he's he can score. We saw that last year, so it's going to be interesting, right? Maybe Pacioretty to the right side. I mean, the more I think about it right now, as we're talking about it, Pacioretty in the top six just doesn't make sense to me
No,
anymore. Like he can play on the power play, but you got to limit his minutes. He can't play in the top six. I don't think that's good for anyone
I
in
don't think
this
so either.
scenario.
Also,
Yeah,
don't
so
think. Yeah, I love him though. Also, we hit to 30 likes. Let's get to 50 likes. I think we can. I think we can get to 50 likes. So,
yeah,
120 plus watching. Hit the like button if you enjoy the content. What's up, Polly? What did I miss? It's on your screen now. Basically,
let's go through everything actually.
Okay, yeah. Nylander's
Through
going
the
to
day,
start the camp at center. You have injury updates for Dewar, Minton, and Ben Danford. Fraser Minton being the more severe one. We also have videos on most of this stuff earlier today. You can check out after the stream.
Yep.
A bunch of the Leafs guys have gained weight and muscle, which lends to the credence to the fact of how Craig Berube plays. And then, of course, Rogers bought out MLSE, I think is the way to say it. Essentially, it's going to create financial flexibility, but we don't actually know how it's going to affect the Leafs. But we do know that's going to change not only the Leafs, but the Jays, I think, the Jays as well, the Raptors.
No, not the Jays. They're not part of.
Okay, well, there you go. The Raptors.
Yeah, yeah. It might in the future, actually.
For the foreseeable future.
We don't know. Yeah. It could actually end up affecting the Jays.
A lot of changes.
Not right now.
Infinite changes. Alex Nylander gained 10 pounds. We had a screenshot in our video, our first video of the day, if you want to see the full list of weight gain, which is an interesting way to put it, but muscle gain, we'll go with it at this point.
I know they say weight gains.
Yeah. And now we're talking about the Lions because they're going to get kind of crazy. And we had to factor in Easton Cowan. Like for the first 9 games, unless he has a disaster class training camp, he's going to factor in. So someone's going to be out. And by disaster class, I meant like he gets hurt. But
somebody's going to be out in terms of being scratched.
Correct.
Until Easton Cowan gets sent back because I just don't see a world where he makes the team full-time.
Unless he has 10 goals.
Unless he completely outplays everybody.
10 goals in 9 games.
You're right. Yeah,
I feel
100%.
like this. I feel like Brad Treliving, I don't know. I feel like it's at the point now where they're trying to win so badly that if he is performing, like they're gonna say, "Hey, screw the extra year of control. We only have 2 years of prime Chris Tanev left anyway. Let's just go for it while we have the chance." And who knows what the future brings with Mitch Marner? Like this is the go for it year while they have the chance. I do think Marner walks in free agency next season, but I think this is their chance to go for it, and it's the craziness. Go ahead.
If he plays well, then he will make the team, right? And if he's outperforming guys who are scratched, they will trade those guys to make room for him. Treliving said that. So if you play, let's just see how he plays. But he's got to be. I'm telling you, junior players, it's hard, man. It's hard. Like he's got to be very detailed in his game, and Berube is really hard on that stuff. If he's not, it's nothing against the player. He'll learn. He'll be a good NHLer one day. But if he doesn't have it right now, Berube, they're going to send them back. They are. Now, Nick, real quick before we get to some other comments. I thought this line was very interesting. So yourself on left wing, Tavares in the middle, and me on the right wing. I think that would that's a recipe for Stanley Cup success. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
I'm a left shot, but I can play the right wing. I like the
Also a
one
left
time.
shot. Also a
That's
left shot.
okay. Perfect.
I think it's probably the best bet. Yeah. I think Nick
Yeah,
Tavares
that's
Darius.
perfect.
I can provide some speed.
There you go. I can't. I am a power forward. I just won't move. I'll be like JVR in 2013 playoffs. If anyone remembers, I'll just stand in front of the
You'll
net
be
and do
like
nothing else.
Labushkin version of a forward, which sounds like a
Babushkin on
horrific
forward.
player. Yeah.
Horrible idea.
Yo,
Horrible.
Marner is getting extended. Fazilla, I remember your name, and I believe you've trolled in the past. So I do believe that.
Behave, everyone. Behave.
Marner walks, leaves sign, Rantanen. It's interesting. Easton should have one more year in junior, then he'll be ready for sure next year. The problem with Easton Cowan is, and it's like we've said this a million times, but he can only play in the OHL next year. Is the problem?
Yeah, he can't go to the
And
AHL.
How much will he? How much? I guess the question is how well he plays in the first 9 games. That's why the first 9 games, among getting off. I mean, you think about those first 10 games. We'll just say 10 for the sake of simplicity here. You have a new coach. Obviously, getting off to a hot start is very important. You have a brand new goaltending tandem, and you have a new blue line. And you obviously have to see how this is going to go with everything that's going on. And you have the Easton Cowan stuff. So it's like those first 10 games are going to be very telling. Not necessarily like panic if the Leafs go 4-5 or 4-6 in 10 games or 5-5. But there's a world where things come together well. I can see a world where there's some heavy growing pains with at the start.
Yes.
Just seeing how everybody gels. Not a bad growing pain necessarily. Like maybe they start the season, let's say 5-5 instead of the usual 7-3 or 6-4, and people start to panic. But then you're at the other flip side. This is how you build a lot of. I mean, not every. The regular season doesn't matter that much if you make the playoffs and make a deep run. And Craig Berube is going to set them up for success here.
We've seen so many teams in the last 10 years to be literally the 8th seed, like the last team to make the playoffs and win the cup.
Yeah.
So I'm not concerned whatsoever. And I agree that there will be growing pains. I think that they might be maybe a worse team in the regular season than last year, right, per se, but I think they'll find success in the playoffs and that'll be fine. And they have a problem right now with too many forwards, too many guys fighting for spots. That's a good problem to have when you have that problem. Now, Shane mentioned a little while ago, and I wanted to address it because Brad Living did address it. Dewar put on a lot of weight too, and could that be from sitting around all off season because he had shoulder surgery? He was able to work out, and he's been progressing like the whole time. So he's putting on muscle still. Like that's muscle. He's putting on weight, which is fine. It's not fat. So a lot of these guys who are injured, they're progressing through. They can still work out and do some, mobility and all that, and work on certain things as they're recovering from their surgery still. So I think a lot of the weight, most of the weight is not fat. I think with these guys, there's just no way with the lifestyle that they live. So it's all muscle.
Yeah.
Which can be a bad thing too. If you get too heavy, like even if it is muscle,
maybe they'll be the slowest team. Maybe all this
right. They're the 3rd heaviest team in the league now.
Ollie, that comment is going to fire up Darius.
I gotta hopefully don't make the play. See, it's just impossible. I think this year, I made it was a Darius guarantee, I believe, last live stream last week. We are like, there's just no way. Like I say we, like me and you, like we do not believe. I can't speak for you actually, Nick.
Yeah, I think they make it. Though you're a lot more confident. I never say never.
There's just no way. There's just no way they miss the playoffs with all that skill. There's just no way. And I think they're built better throughout the lineup now. Like on top of the skill they already had, which I feel like they had to outscore problems.
It's a tough division, but like I predicted. I have to say they're definitely gonna make. I predicted the Leafs to win the division. So I mean, I would have to. I think they're gonna be the best team in the conference. So I mean,
I don't know if they'll be like 2nd or 3rd again.
We'll do our predictions in the stream the week before the regular season, which is hilariously enough 2 weeks away, I believe. So 2 Wednesdays away would be 3 Wednesdays. I don't know the math.
I think it's 2 Wednesdays away will be the week before the season. Yes.
Which is exciting.
Yeah. Ollie, I lots of teams have skill, but they can't put it together. I do not see the Leafs missing the playoffs. They have a common goal. They have a new coach who's going to bring in a different style that should find success with them. I don't see them.
Now, I will, to his credit, if there was a year where the Leafs don't make the playoffs, it probably would be with a brand new coach, brand new personnel. If things really just somehow don't work out with all the drama. But I think there's a much higher chance that they do and that everything works out as well. Our goaltending is
the Leafs technically didn't make the playoffs the first year with Keefe either.
So
they technically missed the playoffs. They lost in the play-in round.
Playing. Murray, Murray, I fixed the Scott Steiner math. I'm all in here on the Leafs.
Scott Steiner.
This teams reminds me of
Yes.
Florida last year. I honestly think they could be 50 points higher than last year, and also feel like they would be running teams over. I think if everything comes together and comes to fruition, there's a world where they steamroll some teams. I mean, they've always steamrolled teams, though. I think the bigger things will be looking at how they're preparing for playoff play rather than what the actual results are going to be. That being said, I'm excited to overreact to regular season wins and losses.
Oh, always, for sure. That happens every year. I'm very excited. I think what the Leafs need to do, I think, and I think what Berube is going to have them do is remember back in, I feel like it was game 5, somebody, it might have been Pasternak, was messing with Tavares, and Nyes came in, punched them, shoved him, and then asked him what he was going to do about it. And Pasternak did nothing. And then Nyes said, that's exactly what I thought. And then Nyes scored the game-winning goal. That's the type of hockey I think that they're going to play. They're going to push you around. They're going to be physical. This is exactly who wins the Stanley Cup. This is the Florida Panthers to a T last year. They'll push you around and then they'll put the puck in the net, right? And I feel like that's exactly the way Berube is going to get them to play.
I also have a question for the chat. On a scale, like people are talking about, on a scale from 1 to 10, what is your confidence level in the goaltending tandem that we have heading into the upcoming season?
Or trio, for that matter.
Yeah, well, Darius is a Matt Murray.
Are we adding Matt Murray? I would like
to
add Matt Murray into that.
We're going to go with just the 2 because compare your 2 to everybody else's in the league. That's what we're going to stick with now. So Matt
Fair
Murray,
enough.
not Matt Murray, Joseph Wall, Anthony Stolarz. 1 to 10, what is your confidence level about, or heading into the season, about 2 goalies who have very good individual seasons in limited playing time that are now going to have a bigger load, in theory at least, from one of them is going to have a bigger load. What is this? What is the ranking? What is your confidence level on a scale from 1?
What's your confidence level with
7.
the goaltending, Nick? 7. I think
that's on
it's
the high
quite
side.
high. I think it's quite high for me.
I'd even
I would
go
say
6, but
really?
I just,
I'm gonna go.
I think
I'm gonna
7
go
is
like
my final answer though.
like 8.5 or 9
Whew.
for myself personally, because like especially out of 10, because well, obviously out of 10, but I think Stolarz, yes, he's older, but I think he's ready to break out and like kind of take on more of a role
Still what,
and take on
29?
more games.
30?
Yeah, like 30, something like that. Like, which is still like, you know, young for a goalie because they kind of only develop 25, 26, like Joseph Woll is. I think Joseph Woll is one of the better goalies or young goalies in the league. And well, he's not really young, but he hasn't played much in the league. He's still technically young. But in terms of skill, he just has to stay healthy. And I feel like the Leafs have made an investment into him to stay healthy and work with him on his health. So Stolarz does not suck. He had a great year last year with the Stanley Cup champions.
He's a troll.
He knows yeah.
I will say
I
though,
think Stolarz is he's gonna be good.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a little bit.
Yep.
There's a world that, again, I don't have their stats by hand, but
I can get them for you. But
you can get them up. But I mean, like, neither of these guys have proven that they can be elite goalie, not elite, very good goalies over a long period of time. Joseph Wall, I think, has a good chance to do it. Anthony Stolarz had a good year behind, obviously playing behind a very good goalie in Florida. So the question mark now becomes, can either of these guys sustain under a full season? Now, the benefit of this is that they don't have to play 60 games, right? They don't have to do it. And obviously, but there's a huge difference between playing behind Joseph Wall, or playing alongside Joseph Wall, I should say, and playing behind Sergei Bobrovsky, like Anthony Stolarz did. A massive difference. So now you're looking at what's going to happen next season. And I think there's a world that they're inexperienced. They haven't played significant amount of time in the NHL. Neither of them have played a lot of games. I think the highest amount one of them have played was 21 games started?
25 maybe, or something like that. Yeah, something in that area, yeah.
And then you also have to account for injuries. So when Wall's healthy and good, yes, he's a very good goalie, can be a 1A. But there's so many ifs that a 7 for me is like almost generous. Because I'm saying confidence. I'm not saying ceiling. The ceiling of this tandem is one of the best in the NHL, tandem-wise. Aside from obviously like the Connor Hellebucks and Bobrovskys of the world. But like, there's too many ifs for me to be fully confident. That being said, if everything works out, they could be at the point where it's like, who do we start against tonight against the Boston Bruins in a rival Saturday night game in Toronto? There's a world where that happens, which makes the job harder for a lot of the coaching staff there.
For me, it would be Joseph Wall, but we'll see how they play in that scenario at least. But we'll see how they play, and I think it looks something close to like them splitting it 3 ways and bringing Matt Murray into this, because I think we're going to see Matt Murray this year. Them splitting it 3 ways, but not evenly, Like I think we see Stolars and Wool split it evenly themselves or as close to as possible. And then Murray gets like 15 games or something like that, or like 10 games, something like that. And I feel like that's going to take, some pressure off the other guys too, so they don't have to play 41 games or whatever it is. But, the fact of the matter is these guys are going to have to play more games than they ever have. And that's just the way it is. And that's the way it should be, because we're expecting Joseph Woll to be a starter in this league, right? So
yeah, exactly. That's the
he's
thing.
got to do it.
You're paying him as a starter, so may as well start him.
His new contract is like, obviously there's other goalies making way more, but you're right. Like
I just want to address a couple things here. Hurt Locker changes everything. There's a bunch of stuff going on. Nylander's playing center, but more importantly, Bell bought out Rogers, which changes the landscape of the Leafs going forward, about how their flexibility is. But someone mentioned here, Ollie, I know you, he said, would rather have the Habs, Bruins, Florida, Tampa, and Ottawa's goaltending than Toronto. Now,
Ottawa's absurd, first of all, but go ahead.
Ottawa is absurd. I think what's more absurd, though, is the Montreal Canadiens. They
have some decent young goaltenders, but go ahead, Nick.
Oh, I'll go ahead.
Yeah.
If the Montreal Canadiens objectively end up having a better goaltending season than the Leafs. Now, I don't know how the metric to do this, whether it's we use GAA, whether we use advanced metrics.
Stats, for sure.
We can use advanced metrics. If that ends up happening, I will do something crazy. I'll get a Habs jersey. I have to wear it on stream or something crazy like that, because there's no world that the Habs have better goaltending than the Toronto Maple Leafs next year. There's no way. Matt Murray's better than the... Okay, let me settle down a little bit.
Okay, settle down. He also just had surgery. We want to see what he has.
The rest of the teams, though, like Tampa, Florida, and Boston, you can definitely make a case for. At least they have the better goalie. We'll go with that.
Right, sure. Yeah, at this point in time, at least. And Vasilevsky is getting older, and the Leafs kind of exposed Tampa's play style.
Oh, I'd still take Vasilevsky over both of our goalies. So.
Yeah, he's still a great goalie. I'm not saying he's not, but I'm just saying, certain play styles. But anyway, and the Leafs are changing theirs.
Darius will shave his head as well.
Darius will shave his head. I didn't say that. Nick said that. I didn't say that.
I'll forward my punishment.
To preference everything with stats from last season, Joseph Woll played 25 games in the NHL. He had a .907 save percentage, which is slightly above league average, slightly above. All right. So, which is pretty good. If you have average, I think that's okay, as long as you're not getting terrible goaltending. Now, Stolarz last year, yes, he's playing on the Cup championship team, but he's getting second half of back-to-backs. He's the backup goalie. He still played a pretty good sample size with 27 games played, and he had a .925, which is significantly higher than league average. So I'm feeling good about the goaltending.
Now compare that to the Habs.
well, I think we could save that conversation for another time, actually, Nick.
Yeah, I agree.
We might have that conversation later.
I agree. Fire me up.
That'd be fun.
Nye's almost 230 now. Yeah, he went from 217 at the start of a year ago, last camp, to 227 now. And I'm sure he's rounding it up. We can just say 230. So he's going to be an absolute beast. And then whatever happens with everybody else. Tavares that passes in the same line sounds like a terrible idea, though.
Well, just, you know what? At this point, I'm just throwing kind of idea. I haven't seen any of these guys play together. So once we do, I think we'll get a better idea of like who's going to.
They also still have to make a move to get Patches on the team. So
somebody is leaving, and we don't know who that is either. So it's hard to like I could put. I don't think they're moving Dewar, but let's just say I'll put Dewar on the fourth line. If they move him, then everything changes. I did see one today with Nick Robertson on the fourth line. That's not happening. I can tell you that. Like, that's not happening. So
thanks, Brandon.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see what happens here in training camp. And I keep saying training camp with the preseason starting, because training camp did start today. So
thank you, Brandon. I just hope the Leafs stay healthy.
Woll was
good.
Yeah, Woll was really good when he was healthy, and I think that plays into staying healthy. Hakanpää too. That's another interesting little tip. He's starting with the
fourth group.
I forget what. Yeah, the third group. I forget what Berube was calling it. There's A, B, and C in training camp, and he's playing with the C group. He's playing in the third group to kind of get back up to speed. So, yeah, Shane, I totally agree. I feel like Kampf is the one on the way out. I don't know how you feel about it, Nick, looking at the entire lineup.
I mean, we know that Kampf makes too much money, but that being said, like, I was talking to a friend of mine who's he's a Minnesota Wild fan, also a part of Habs fan. Like, I mentioned David Kampf, and he's like, he's a great fourth liner. Like, he does what he does. And I'm like, yeah, but he's getting paid so much.
$2.4 million.
And like, but maybe some other teams. Now, I'm not using my friend as a metric of other teams' GMs, but maybe other teams would be interested in David Kampf to help lengthen up their lines, because I mean, the Leafs have a advantage in the sense that they have a lot more depth than other teams do, like than some other teams do at this point. I mean, we're talking about like there could be, I mean, there's a world where any of these guys, Lorentz could be playing on the opening day roster. Like, there's a bunch of worlds where things happen. That would be crazy. But there's a bunch of worlds where things could happen where a lot of teams are fighting to find guys who are NHL caliber. I mean, whether that's Chicago, whether that's a bunch of teams, San Jose, teams that are terrible.
Yeah, sometimes we forget too, like even Lorentz, you brought him up, like signing a PTO, you may not make the Leafs, but another team is watching. So you may end up on another team. That's why a lot of these guys sign PTOs and stuff like that. So we'll see. But yeah, like you were saying, like, I don't know, Kampf makes too much and other teams might be interested in his services, right? Because maybe they can afford him and he's a really
maybe
good
the Leafs
penalty
retain
killer.
half salary and then it's not as bad for either
Well,
side.
I wouldn't do that. I probably wouldn't do that, but you never know. You're right. Yeah. It could happen. Well,
I mean, it depends how desperate
but
they get to move. Because, I mean, none of their
That's
assets
right,
are super valuable at this point. I mean, I think they'd rather at that point just move Connor Timmins and for nothing and then just open up the spot. But obviously, you wouldn't do a straight up trade where you're retaining money. But if you package somebody else in there like Lilligren or anyone else, then like you could do something crazy.
Yeah.
I've seen crazier things happen.
Definitely. And maybe Yarncroke. We've talked about Yarncroke, Lilligren being odd man's out, right? Like we're not 100% sure. Yarncroke is very mid at everything to me. Like he's not bad, but he's very like you can kind of plug him in anywhere.
I feel like that's the story of like half the Leafs, like the third and fourth line. A lot of them were mid.
Yeah, you're
last year
right.
especially. Like now it's a bit more role defined, but there were so many mid. What we called it role definition, aka what I said mid. A lot of mid. I mean, that's nothing to take away from them, but like I don't know, a lot of mid.
No, you kind of just plug them in. And it's like okay,
which isn't terrible.
Fine. Yeah, they're not bad. They're not bad, but they're mid, and they're getting away from that, like you said. So I like Yarncroke though. I would keep him, and he doesn't make that much. I would trade David Kampf. You need to free up salary. I would trade him over Yarncroke. I think he's a fine player. He's a fine player.
And you have Pontus Holmberg. You have all these other guys.
Holmberg's great. Yeah, I definitely keep Holmberg. Doesn't make that much.
Holmberg's above mid. You know, we can.
I would say a slight level above mid is Holmberg in his role.
Marner sign and trade to Colorado for Colton Ross and
Cale Makar.
There is a I think the trade Marner rumors are well past us now. I don't think. For now.
I think Joe Sakic, I don't even know if he's the GM there. I think or maybe he's the, I don't know, president, maybe. I think he picks up the phone, thinks that that's a scam call, and hangs up. Probably.
I mean, would they even do Cale Makar like for Austin Matthews 1-for-1?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No. So. A right shot defenseman that plays like that is.
And would the Leafs do Cale Makar for like probably not either at this point, just given the way
maybe not at this point.
Just because Austin of how Matthews everything's going. So it's like
Austin Matthews is the best Leaf ever.
Yeah. Well, best.
If you find some playoff success, he is, because everyone else has only been there for like 5 years in history because they traded for everyone. They can never draft anybody. And a lot of the records are about to be broken by him. So it's pretty crazy. He's going to break the all-time leading scoring record for the Leafs this year, and he's 27. It's crazy. Unbelievable.
I lost the... a healthy Minton makes David Kampf obsolete. He is not healthy, though.
He's not... That's an interesting bit of information we got today, too. Yeah.
Minton going in for... Or Cowan. I mean, Cowan's going to be the one who's ready to go, but... Marner will retire or leave. No, okay. I don't know, Shane. I do not think he's going to retire or leave. I think he's gone after this year, unless they make it into the conference finals.
I actually don't know about that because I don't think the Leafs management cares what the fans think in terms of, like, obviously they care that the fans obviously want a Stanley Cup, and I think the Leafs management are trying to build a winning team, but I don't think they're listening to the fans like, oh yeah, we should trade this player or we should let this player walk. I think they're more interested in keeping their asset and asset management. So I feel like, I don't know, at this point they're talking about an extension. Are they better without him? I don't know. I feel like people can change and he can play, you can change his play style. So if he does in the playoffs, great. Like that's the whole thing. If he plays better and he has more moments and he's finding a way to be useful, then great, man. You're on my team. 100%. I'm cheering for you, but I haven't seen that. So that's that.
Matthews.
Minton probably not on the fourth line either. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, nor do you want Minton on the fourth line. Yeah, I mean, that's also the other side of it. Matthews, if he retires a Leaf, he could have 1,000 goals.
That's Well, if he plays till he's like 40.
Yes.
Yeah. He's
Marner,
actually on a
yeah, he
faster,
is.
I don't know how to word this, but he's on a better
Trajectory.
pace than Ovechkin, yeah, over the same amount of time in their careers, which is
Let's win
crazy
though.
because Ovi's
Let's
gonna.
win. Let's win
Yeah,
some
I don't think
games.
any of them care about that. I really don't. I
Matthews
think
probably cares a little
Ovi,
bit.
yeah, but I
Not
think
the Ovi
people
thing, but scoring goals.
Ovi would talk about his career differently, and people would talk about him differently if he didn't win that Stanley Cup. Even if he does break this record, they would talk about him differently. But anyway,
Thinking Marner is going to be extended probably pretty soon, is my guess. We have a video on that coming out tomorrow.
we do. Yeah, it's more insight.
Yeah, it's
into that.
possible. It's possible. Matthews will break Gretzky's Ovi's goal scoring record. I'm going to ask everybody in the chat now while we're here, and Darius, I'll ask you as well, of course.
Yep.
Actually, you can't. You can't answer. Okay, what is our projected record through 82 games for the Toronto Maple Leafs? Because the team is fairly finalized. We kind of know who's going to be playing on it. We don't know the lines yet, and I'll do this again during we'll have a prediction stream where we predict everything. But what's our tentative record right now is we're 3 weeks away from opening night. Exactly 3 weeks away, I believe, from opening night. Or maybe, 3 weeks away. What's our projected record for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Would you like me to answer as well?
Yes.
I'm thinking somewhere in like the 48 win range, which I feel like is down. But I feel like they're going to have a ton of overtime losses because they're slower. A ton. So that's because I feel like they got kind of lucky in overtime last year. I don't know exactly what their record was.
Yeah, we can just
but I'm
like,
feeling
I guess
it's
I was going to say
somewhere in
just
that
ignore
area.
overtime losses for the sake of simplicity. I was going to go with 52 and 30 with no overtime, like
I think
assuming
that's fair.
overtime losses
Yeah.
aside. But wow, multiple people are saying 52. That's kind of weird. That's kind of crazy.
No, they're going to have a great
Doc,
year. They're gonna be a
Vizilla.
great
No,
team.
but the exact 52. That's like,
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
I wonder
makes
what the sports books have them at. I'm assuming it's like 49.5.
I'm not sure if it's probably. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's even out yet
Probably not.
because of obviously training camp starting today. But
53. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I'm like, most excited
Yeah,
I've
not
been for a Leafs. I said this on video. Probably the most excited I've been about a Leafs season in what feels like, I said 10 years tentatively, but really over the past 5 for sure.
definitely. Yeah. Like since the first season of Sheldon Keefe, this is the first time I'm actually excited because I've said it in videos and streams before. The last couple of years have just been like, get me to April. I don't care about anything because we're doing the same thing the entire time. Just get me to April and see what happens. And then we get the same result every time. So it's something new this year. I'm excited. But yeah, I don't think a record-breaking season by any stretch, but they'll be really good. Like hovering around 50 wins, I think for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't matter as long as we make the playoffs. Yeah. I mean,
That too. Yeah.
Andrew, welcome to Elite Tier.
Andrew.
Thank you very much for becoming a member. If you are unfamiliar with the membership system, Shane, if you're still in here, you get a little logo next to your name. It's not very. I think it's $2.99 a month for the smallest tier. You get all of these animations among other perks as well, and we have a bunch of new emotes coming, which you're gonna want to use when post game streams, because post game streams are where all of this goes crazy. So Andrew, thank you for joining. We're gonna you're gonna want to become a member if you like the animations, and especially again, we're gonna be going live almost every game that we can. I guess that's a pretty good one. Almost every game. I mean, really, especially for the first.
Well,
while.
some games are bigger than others.
Yeah.
Right?
So as much
Actually,
as we can.
this might be a good time to talk about the broadcast schedule because that was some pretty big news, and I have it for you, Nick.
Your professional segue. There.
Yes. So I had this prepped for us. So
Thank
obviously
you,
the broadcast schedule came out yesterday. The Leafs tweeted it out, and they do this every year. And every year when you look at it, it's just Sportsnet, TSN, Sportsnet, whatever. So this year they have 6 games that are on Prime Video. And when I saw this, I thought this was
Hold on now. Shane has just gifted
We'll
five memberships. So Hurtlocker, Darren, Ryan, Doug, and Marshall. You are all now members. So thanks, Shane, for that. You get the emote. You get a bunch of different badges, and emotes, and emojis, all that stuff to use. And there's other perks as well. But again, especially for when the regular season starts, we're gonna have tons of different emotes dropping, and they're gonna be fun to use during the post game stream. So thank you, Shane, very much for gifting those. And we're revamping it like every day now, so we're going to continue to get that going. So it's a good time to join. So thank you, Shane.
Especially into the season. We have some fun stuff planned, especially for streaming. So that's awesome. Thank you, Shane. That's awesome. To pivot again to this, So they have 6 games on Amazon Prime this year that are going to be broadcasted on Amazon's Prime Video. You can't watch it on basic cable, anything like that. Like it's not going to be on Sportsnet, whatever. And it's these games listed. Some of them are pretty interesting too, against the Lightning, one against a Canadian team, which I thought was weird, in the Jets. I thought that would be like a local broadcast, but anyway, thought that was interesting. But this, does anyone in the chat, I'm curious about this. Does anyone remember Leafs TV? Because this is giving me Leafs TV vibes, where you had to buy an
It
extra
gives
channel.
me what Blue Jays fans, if we're any Jays fans in here, have been
Yeah.
experiencing for the best 3 years. Every almost like a few Fridays throughout the year, Apple TV. So
Yeah.
you have to pay to watch the game. That being said, we're going to pay to watch the games. So we're
Yep.
going to have post-game lives. If you miss out on these dates right here and you can't watch the game because you don't want to pay, which is totally understandable, we will have post-game lives going over. We might even do some sort of, this is tentative, we don't know for sure yet, some sort of watch-along things, depending on what happens for these games, depending on what's going on with that. But we will have you covered for those if you don't want to pay for them. So you can guarantee these games, one of us is going to do some sort of stream for
Yep.
these games, because it's rough. You got to pay for it. Also, just saw someone say hello from Newfoundland. What's up, Super Noof? I'm also from Newfoundland, so we have
Shout out to
some-
Newfoundland.
Shout out to Newfoundland. Big shout out to Newfoundland. But yeah, we'll be live for. We might do some watch-alongs or something for some of these games. We're not gonna be doing watch-alongs a ton throughout the year, but we're gonna be doing post-game lives for almost every single game.
Almost every single game, especially the bigger ones. Obviously, when they play the Bruins, stuff like that, we'll have some fun with that. But and obviously the Montreal Canadiens. But to get back to the schedule a little bit, yes, a lot of people remember Leafs TV, and I loved Leafs TV because you could watch the pre-game scrums. They had Marley's games on there. They had old classic games that you could watch from the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, them winning the Stanley Cup in the 60s. It was a cool channel, and they had some games on there, and Joe Bowen was a commentator on those. I liked it, but it was just another package you had to buy to watch some games. Like there was like 10 games or 12 games a year on there. This is giving me heavy vibes of that. Like we're going backwards to that. And I think the reason that they're starting to dip their toe, and this is the NHL in general, I don't know if this is a Leafs thing specifically, but I think it's an NHL thing, into Amazon, is because Sportsnet, the broadcasting rights are up at the end of next season. And I feel like Amazon is where we're going to be watching NHL games after that season. I do honestly believe that. It's going to pivot away from cable. It's going to pivot away. A lot of other places are doing it. I think the MLS is strictly on Apple TV now.
Digital
I could be
media.
wrong about that. Yeah. So, and obviously, like you mentioned, some Blue Jays games. So I feel like that's actually pretty significant news, where I feel like they're going to pivot away from cable. Sportsnet might lose the rights. Maybe there's a couple local games on local television still, like TSN, stuff like that, if they're even doing that at that time, because obviously we talked about the news earlier in the stream about them pivoting away. But yeah, I feel like Amazon might be the carrier after next season. It's going to be interesting. But 6 games this year, some people might not even be able to watch. It's crazy. Like that hasn't happened in at least 10 years since they bought the rights. Sportsnet, that is.
We're also 1 like away from 50. We all like see numbers go up. So if you haven't liked already, just click it for us. It would mean the world. And again, thanks Shane for the 5 digest memberships. We're gonna make sure you guys get your money's worth for the memberships, with perks, with emotes and things like that. So
yeah. Also, this is
Shane,
a great point from Stuart.
We can't comment on that, but
we're not even going to acknowledge it.
We're gonna pay for our streams, and then we'll
right.
stream after the game for you guys
and break it down.
The
Stuart brought up
reaction
a very reaction. Yes, not actually broadcasting the game.
No.
we don't have the rights, unfortunately, to that at this time. Stuart brings up a very interesting point that WWE just shifted to Netflix. Like WWE will not be on television anymore, basic cable or anything like that, which is that was a monumental move. So everything I feel like is going to go that way. You might see the NHL on Amazon. You might see MLB on Apple TV. You might it's crazy.
Shane, that is a benefit. Members do get priority for call-ins. That
right.
is one of the benefits we're going to add in, which again, we can have call-ins for you. I mean, I've been saying this forever, but we got the infrastructure figured out. We just got to, there was a lot of news today we wanted to get through, so we had to.
Yeah.
I got you, Shane. Shane, you'll be the first one to call in. And I offer, you could call in. You could have called in a few weeks ago on the phone. You could have called in on the phone.
Shane will be the first. He has priority. There's a list now. There's a backlog. Everyone's got to start
Jose too,
signing up for it. Yeah, Jose's in there too.
Yeah, I mean, that's exciting. Yeah, the Amazon games are a bit rough. I don't like the Apple TV games, but I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I'm just excited for the season to start. I'm very excited. I mean, we're getting close now. We're through. I gotta make sure because I feel like we're 3 weeks away.
About 3 weeks away. Yeah. The last thing I'll say about Amazon is because there's no association to Sportsnet and the regular streaming. I don't know how it's all going to work exactly, but I feel like if there's an opportunity to have Joe Bowen on the call from the radio to the Amazon broadcast, I am more for it now because the Leafs, every game is nationally televised for the Leafs, almost every single game. It's crazy. So, which it should be because Canada's team, I guess, right, guys? But yeah, I think that, if there's an opportunity for Joe Bowen to be on the call on Amazon, I'm all for that. I think that's great.
Yeah.
It also had NHL TV. I think NHL TV was a thing back in the day too, but it was just a streaming service that like you would get all the broadcasts on it, but there was still the local TV broadcasts, like that feed. So I feel like Stuart brings up another good point where it might be like NHL Network, but they're all like in-house, like they're all doing their own broadcasts, which that could be the future as well. We'll see. It's going to be
an exciting year for the Maple Leafs. And also, of course, all you guys who are tuned in now, this channel. We have a lot of things planned. A lot of things. And one of them we're going to start probably sneak peeking like next week. In next week's stream, I'd say. It's probably the time to start fully sneak peeking it. I guess that's a word. Well, there's a lot of stuff coming. So everyone who's in here now, you're going to want to tune in next Wednesday. We're going to give a very big hint into something that we've been planning for months now. So next Wednesday, you're going to want to tune in for the stream, and we'll give you a sneak peek at something that's coming for the start of the season. So there's a lot brewing in that way. But it's pretty exciting stuff. We've been giving hints over the past month anyway.
People can pick up. Yeah, if people have been picking up on it.
So if you want to go back and look throughout the live streams to see if you can guess. If someone guesses it, we'll say it. If someone guesses what it is. We've been giving hints throughout the live stream. So once this stream is end, if you want to find some Easter eggs, you can check out our stream from last week, the week before. We're slowly hinting at something big. We've
been dropping these little Easter eggs the whole time for the last maybe month or so. So if you picked up on it, say it. Yeah, like we've been dropping them. So
Bone to the Leafs.
Coming.
Tom Cheeks was to the Jays. It's true. And my Nylander jersey came in. I'm also getting another jersey, and I'm gonna have the chat vote on it next. We'll do that next week again. Who that will be.
Like who to get. Yeah, nice.
And I'll put a poll. I'll put a poll in, and whatever wins and Pacioretty will be there. Pacioretty will be there.
You're for sure getting a Pacioretty jersey, but now who else are you getting? That's the question. Yeah, that's right.
We'll have a vote for my jersey next week. Hopefully, it probably won't get in time for the regular season, but we already have one there in Nylander, which was the.
This one will actually be in the spirit of you buying a jersey. I bought another jersey, so this one will actually be getting replaced because I do have a Matthews behind me. And I don't think I've announced it yet, but I kind of want it to be a surprise the first game.
I think we all know who it is.
Probably. So we'll see.
You think I pay attention to that stuff? I've really noticed. Well, Shane, probably not, but I can guarantee you if you went back and looked at the streams, you don't even have to go too far in any of them. You can DM me on Instagram and tell me what your guess is. And if you get it right, I don't know. I'll do something.
We'll do something. Salming is a good pick for jersey too. I actually almost bought a Salming jersey last year, but it was a little expensive. So
yeah, it's a good jersey, Gary.
Player.
I love the way it looks too. I get to match Darius now with the night.
That's right. We both have the flip side Bieber jerseys now.
Yep, the Bieber jerseys.
Which I think they're nice jerseys. I don't know how people feel about them, but
it's just for my wall.
Nice.
I won't wear it. Actually, I will wear it. Every game this season that William Nylander gets a hat trick, if any, I'll wear it on the stream for the post.
Did he even get one last year? I'm not sure.
No idea. Do not vote me to get a Marner jersey. I mean, he'll be there. I would. Oh my god.
So Nick's ballot for jerseys is like there's a couple guys crossed off. Like you can't vote for Pacioretty because he's already getting Pacioretty. You can't vote for Mitch Marner. There's a couple guys you can't vote for.
That would be people say I'm the biggest Marner hater. I disagree. That's what people comment.
I think there's much bigger Marner haters than you. I think you just want the Leafs to win.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I don't care what it is, just win, please.
So if you want to be a part of next stream's gonna be, we have a hint. We'll get a sneak peek, a more direct one, and we'll have my jersey vote ceremony at the end of the stream. And hopefully we vote someone that's good. I feel like Pacioretty's gonna win.
Oh, buddy, you're getting a Labushkin jersey. I'm telling you that
No, no,
right now.
no, that's not a part of it.
That's what's happening.
Current
Yeah,
Leafs.
that's
Current Leafs.
currently okay. Okay, fair.
Labushkin, that'd be
They got to
awful.
re-sign him then.
That would be funny though. Honestly, I'd do that. The black side of the jersey is awesome. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm definitely not going to put the what is it, green? I haven't even looked inside.
Have you not looked inside? Yeah, it's
I remember,
like a yellow.
I remember it like
brew
last year, but I
house.
haven't seen it in person. Or how it would
Yeah,
look
yeah.
on a wall.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it wouldn't. The numbers are kind of invert. Like it doesn't look great. It's kind of an interesting
It's
fashion
like
thing,
yellow,
but
green.
yeah, the
Jay
that side.
Rosehill is the biggest Marner. I think Steve Dangle likes Marner less than Nick.
I think Steve Dangle
See,
wants the Leafs to win. I just put it
Phaneuf.
like that.
Well, you got him right there. I already have a piece of Phaneuf merch,
Phaneuf
so we're
jersey.
not going to go with a. I think I'm the only person who actively shares a piece of Dion Phaneuf Toronto Maple Leafs merch in their room
I have
displays.
some stuff. I
Okay,
have
well,
some stuff from Fanouf. Yeah, I do. I from that era of Leafs, which was horrible. I only ever bought a
Horrid.
JVR jersey because JVR was my favorite from
maybe
that
I'll
era.
get a Max Pacioretty bobblehead to replace my Roberto my Jose Bautista one. And Aaron said,
Are they gonna make those? You might have to
there's
get that
no
custom
way
made.
they're gonna make one.
Now,
If they have a
especially
game,
in a
maybe they'll have a
Leafs jersey.
game. Maybe they'll have a game where it's like a Max Pacioretty bobblehead night.
I feel like there's no offense to Max Pacioretty. I think he's a great player, but I feel like there might be 13 guys ahead of him on that list.
It is Phaneuf, yeah. I know
Unfortunately.
you can't. I think I asked when I first got it. It's a Wayne Gretzky quote at the bottom with Dion Phaneuf above.
Is it the shots one?
It's
That quote?
greatness. Something about that.
Oh no, okay, that's not much
Baseball
different.
covers it, but yeah, it is Phaneuf, which is it's always a good talking point though. At least
My hot take is I don't think Phaneuf was a bad captain, and I feel like he wasn't as bad as people said he was. He was just a guy who should have been a second pairing D, and he was the captain and supposed to be the best player. But anyway,
merch. Phaneuf jersey? No thanks. I used to work straight afternoons, so I recorded the games and watched when I get home. I checked out the 2011-2012 season home opener and the guys in that team. I think that
Matthew Lombardi. Oh, I watched that era of Leafs a lot for some reason. I don't know why.
tortured yourself.
Keith Ollie, all these guys. Luke Shen, I think, was still on the team. John Sebastian Zaguerre might have been in net. Actually, maybe not that season.
Darius flexing
was-
his knowledge.
I really, for some reason, that era, I don't know what it was. Like, I just watched every game. So I saw everything.
Stuart,
like
that is the
balance.
correct take.
Yeah.
It is disappointment from lack of playoff success.
That's what it is. Yeah. It's not
I
like
hate Marner.
hate.
I know. I
No.
don't want his jersey. Let's make it very clear. I don't want his jersey. So
Sure.
don't vote Marner when I put that poll up.
Oh, I loved Grabowski as well. He was oh man, I loved Grabowski. The best second line in hockey was him, MacArthur, and Kuhlman that one year. But
I could also throw
anyway.
Matt Sundin in the mix there for my jersey.
You can get a classic
Little
jersey,
throwback.
yeah, right?
Could do.
Well, throwback jersey.
But Matthew Nyes, I would love a Matthew Nyes jersey. I'm a big Matthew Nyes guy.
That'd be a good jersey. too.
Kessel years were painful. Should I get a Phil Kessel?
They were. They were.
He's on.
I will say I love the way that 2013 team played in the playoffs though. Like that's exactly what we need this team to play like. Honestly, they just weren't skilled enough. But anyway,
Darren, thank you for hopping on the train with me. And I'm assuming you're talking
I know.
about Max Pacioretty.
Pacioretty, yeah.
Close to 30. Yeah.
Oh, Marner, no, you've done. Now you did this to yourself by
Yeah,
mentioning
no, I
that.
shouldn't have
You
mentioned.
did it. To,
It's okay. We'll all forget by next week.
Max Pacioretty has an opportunity here to put up a pretty good
30
amount
would
of
be
points.
wild. Now I'll tell you, if he scores 30 goals, I'm gonna be like, told you so. To you, actually, Darius, because you were the initial
for sure. No,
Pacioretty.
100%.
We had a stream 2 weeks ago where I said, "How would we all feel about Pacioretty before he was signed?" Everyone said horrible. I was like, "Well, I might just be the only one here who likes him." People are starting to slowly change their tune about him.
We'll see. Well, we'll see. I'm
Everyone,
not saying he's not going to do it, but
Shane
I
says,
think
if
it's gonna
everyone
be
votes
difficult.
Marner for next jersey, I'll donate 25 subs.
I guess you're getting a Marner jersey. We'll see next stream.
You won't
I
forget.
also
I'm going to
remember-
hold you to that. I'm copying that in my notes
Save it.
because I'm getting a Marner jersey. I mean, may as well.
Ryan, I loved McGillney too growing up and dating myself, I guess. But Sergei Berezin, I also remember him never passed the puck for some reason. Just had to do it himself. He was so funny to watch.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't watch golf, Kirk. Unfortunately, I don't watch golf.
I actually couldn't tell you either. I
Yeah,
just
no,
heard
I
that Tiger Woods had back surgery and he might make some sort of comeback. So
That's
that's
one sport
all
I got
know
nothing
right now.
for you on.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Howdy,
I couldn't
though.
give any analysis.
Howdy. 30 goals and a great contract would be good to see. Be great to see. We'll get it going. I'm a man of my word. Shane, we'll see. We'll see if Marner gets voted. Marner for 25 subs.
McGillney was awesome. Who
Check
else
out.
was on that team? Gary Roberts. Sorry, Nick. I'm just going into some old Leafs memories here.
Okay,
Becky Berg.
I think it'll wrap it up. I do have some other things
Yeah.
I need to get done, but Darius,
Lots of news.
It was
Lots of
It
stuff.
was a good stream here. So next week we have a lot. Obviously the jersey thing. We also have our. We'll give you some sneak peeks into what something big we have coming, but we also have 2 videos coming for you guys tomorrow, and of course again stream next week similar time. So thank you all who tuned in. One of the better streams. I really enjoyed it. Hit the like button on your way out. We're at 69 likes now, so let's get that up to 75. And yeah, any final thoughts, Darius?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting year for the Leafs. I'm excited to watch finally them play a couple preseason games here and how that all turns out. And I'm just excited for the season. There's some change here, something to be excited about. I think Matthew Nyes, a lot of people are putting Tucker in the chat. I think Matthew Nyes reminds me of Tucker in a way. Not really, maybe not the same fire, but anyway, it's going to be a really, really fun season. And I think they have a lot of depth. Maybe not like super strong depth, but they have a lot of depth just in case there's some injuries. And we're just going to have to see how everything turns out here in the next couple of weeks because we have no idea who's going to play with who for the most part, except for maybe 2 guys at this point. And yeah, I mean, thank you everyone for tuning in. This was great. Obviously, a lot of news today, significant news. Like it really does change the Leafs. And not just the Leafs, the Raptors, everything in MLSE. We don't know exactly what's going to happen.
Buckle up.
It's going to be, the future is going to be interesting.
And just every stream as we get closer is going to be more and more interesting with more and more news. So thank you guys for tuning in. We have a stream next week dropping, obviously, and we have a video tomorrow morning. And if you want to check out and you want more Leafs news and you want to see Nick or Darius and I face more, we have a video 4 hours ago. So thank you guys for tuning in. And yeah, maybe we'll go down memory lane again with some more Leaf stuff at the end of next stream so we can continue the conversation.
We'll talk some retro Leafs for hours.
Leave a like on the way out. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Shane, for